here we are. We are live. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Here is another episode of Just a Conversation, and we are delighted you are joining us and or will be joining. We are on Restream. We are in a studio like a real one, and myself, Lolita Reid, and my lovely partner and co-host Dr. Joyce Levitt. We are going to explore, we all usually explore areas such as life, business, mind, and everything related to our potential as human beings. So today, and that was my lovely Joyce's idea because she asked that question in one of the networking meetings. So today we are exploring a question that sounds simple but often has very different
Mhm.
answers to it. So Joyce, do you remember that question that you asked at our
I
meeting?
I know the question. The question says that research consistently shows women are just as ambitious as men. Yet, many women still face barriers to being heard, being recognized, being promoted, and absolutely to being funded. And my question is why? Why is this?
Right. Oh, I have chills. I don't know why. Like every time we have a conversation, and not just this, just a conversation in general, every time we have a conversation, I have chills. So you touch something that this definitely resonates with me. So yes. So what does the research tell us? I have some, not, I don't have stats because I am not into stats. Also, I love stats, but sometimes not. So research in general says that women are graduating from colleges and universities in record numbers. And I mean, if you look at the graduation photos, like there are definitely more women than men, agree?
Yes.
Then, of course, women are starting businesses more than men will ever do because they just start. This is the number statistics. So we have more women in business than also many study shows that women have similar levels of
Mhm.
ambition, even maybe more ambition because there are some things that we are going to explore behind it. And in leadership, however, again, if we will come back and look at leadership positions, even if we look at government levels, we
Mhm.
don't have that many women in power. Actually, we
Mhm.
probably would have a better world if we would have women ruling or governing this world. So in leadership position, less women. In funding situations, and less women. And so yes, representation remains not equal or whatever is the expression. So
Mhm.
men, even we have everything almost the same apart our, of course, physiology. They are dominant, and we women are still somewhere in between. And so why, yeah, Joy, so why do you think we have this, and what is going on?
Well, I've actually given some thought to it because it interests me tremendously. And I think, you obviously have to look at we birth children, we care for children, and, and sometimes we also have other caregivabilities. And I think is the way that we can be in the classic business world or corporate world. And I feel that these business and corporate worlds can often be ruled by a more masculine type of energy, goals, expectations, etc. And I think as a result of this, women have said, you know what? I can't, I won't, and I don't want to. So they are starting their own businesses in record numbers. They add women entrepreneurs, let me get the figure, add 85 billion annually to the UK economy. That's a huge amount. But I feel that it's come to this because women can then work with the flexibility that their roles require. that they can bypass corporate glass ceilings and they can do things their own way, which means using the energies that are natural and strong for us, those of collaboration, intuition, etc. I feel that that's a critical part of this. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I totally agreed. Actually, you just covered some aspects that I wanted to cover. Yes, so if we are talking about Western society, and if we are talking about the UK, so that's exactly what is happening. And so I just want to make sure that we the listeners or whoever will join us later will not misunderstand us, because we are not talking about other cultures here. We are talking about purely Western society culture, because in other parts of the world everything might be different, the position of the woman can be different. We are talking about Western society. And because, Joyce, you are in Scotland, so you are from the UK, I have many contacts. My husband is British, so the UK stage is very much that we would like to cover. So exactly what is happening, that I think, a woman, when they started now recognize their strengths and stopped comparing themselves to men, because I'm not talking about equality, we all equal, in the sense that we bring the same value or even higher value sometimes, and that's okay. Somebody is better, somebody is not that good at something, so we equal in value, but we are different how we see leadership, how we see management, even positions. We are totally different. As you said, different energy, like female energy and male energies are quite different, two two different ends of the stick, as I say. Maybe that we are not using sticks here, but so when we stop fighting this, I need to be recognized, I need to be um, validated, I think then people start looking on us differently. However, this is easier for us to say when we are solopreneurs,
Mhm.
because there is no boss above us. There is no massive team who looks at us and expects us to deliver something. So for us, it's easier. But if we're talking about women in corporations, there are
Mhm.
so many rules and so many biased BS, as we say, and that it's sometimes it is very hard for them to be themselves,
Mhm.
be that visible. And as your taglines, your new tagline says, no, just say your new tagline, Joyce, just repeat
So
it.
I make the invisible visible. So
So
meaning I make the invisible, what's going on in here. You can't see it. You can really hear it, but you can't see it. And I make that visible to my clients.
exactly, so how this woman in the corporate world, how she can be visible when she, for example, um, has three line managers that all male, and she's way better than they are in with her skills and expertise. But the policy of the company is that whoever came first, for example,
Mhm.
goes higher. Do you know, there's something, and I'm sure these policies are now illegal or should be illegal. But there are unwritten rules, like we do things our way here, and these are like even more powerful than any policy can be. So how this woman, how can she not fight, but how can she, through her own skills and abilities and her own expertise, become visible?
So, such a tricky question because how tightly are her hands bound? I think is one of the questions. So, is it, people get promoted because of length of service, continuous service, those kinds of things mean, sort of automatically, this one started before me, they go first. But So what is she going to do? Is she going to be more vocal about her abilities, about how she sees things? And what's the result of that going to be? It will completely depend on the organization and the corporations. I think, right, okay. And others will go, Adeline, you are out of line. We don't want to know it and we don't want to hear it. In a much more a way of undercurrent, actually. So I think it's really difficult. I mean, she can empower herself. She can self-validate herself. She can make sure she's not working from patterns of self-doubt, self-criticism, perfectionism, those kinds of things, because they will hold her back. But there's only so much she can do in herself, and there's probably only so much she can do within the corporation. And I think that's why you're seeing so many women say, you know what? I'm not putting up with this. I can't deal with it. How many people have we heard say, oh, I was in corporate, but it exhausted me. I burnt out, It was unfair. It was awful. I hated it. All those things. And they ditched it and said, right, I'm starting my own business. I think
Exactly.
there's
So
a huge level of frustration.
exactly. So I wanted to say when you were explaining that, there is an option and there are more than one option, obviously, but one of the options to realize what you're good at, like find out that core expertise and then you create business around it. And become a solopreneur, or then grow your business. You don't need to be solopreneur all the time. And you grow, and yes, you just become a business owner, or you establish and start your own business. However, like we need corporations. I think, for the time being, we cannot just everybody ditch the corporation and then, economies will collapse. We need them. So I think, for leadership coach or for coaches who work with organizations, there's a perfect opportunity to start educating the top man or top whoever is on the top of these corporations, to educate them that their employees, including women, especially women, they are not liability. They are assets, or they are that core asset that fuels the company. And I know now we are moving into this artificial intelligence era, but look, people will need people, and people will work with people. So they cannot replace all of us.
No.
I hope that's another topic.
But
So
the other thing too, sorry, am I
yeah,
interrupting you?
no, go ahead now.
The
Say
other
your
thing too is, I mean, we can sit here and say, just ditch the corporation and start your own business. Huge financial concerns that the vast majority of people have to take into consideration. And, a set period or an unknown period of time until they actually start earning from their business is a huge thing that's going to hold them back from, being able to have the freedom to do that. So I think it's a really difficult position for a lot of women, as much as they might like to say, oh, you know what, I'd love to just jack this and start my own business. The practicalities are completely different.
completely different. So that then creates an opportunity for every single woman, wherever they are, in corporation, in some other situation, to become that change agent. Just start changing with yourself. Everything starts with us. So they have an opportunity to be a change agent. Actually, the change agent definition is used in business as well, in academia even. There are even dissertations written how one single person can become, and she or he doesn't, but today we talk about her. She doesn't need to be in a leadership position, even in paid leadership position. She can be the change agent when she starts to change the culture of the company from within. So that's an opportunity for many of us, and we can do that even in life as well, not just in business. But of course, we're talking about corporations. So would you agree that everybody can be
I
that?
think it's a really interesting idea. And I think something that I don't know how widespread it is, but
Mm-hmm.
the whole concept of collaboration. This is something mostly actually, honestly, since we've began working together, because remember when we first, met, you could see us as kind of competitive in a lot of ways, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you are the business coach, but I work within women in business, and you absolutely work with what's going on inside their head, right? You don't just work with business plans, et cetera, et cetera. I know you do. I know you have to work with what goes on in their head. So we could easily have gone, she's my competitor, right?
Yeah,
I don't want any part of that. I don't want competition. Or, I can't handle competition, might be actually what you're saying. But what did we choose? In the alternative was we collaborated. And I feel like this is just such an interesting concept and one that's really not cultivated enough. And that's the whole concept of collaborating with people, collaborating with women within the workplace, collaborating generally as opposed to competing. I think things are changing. Well, we know things are changing. You hear it all the time. There are so many rule books that have been thrown out when you're, career searching today, when you're in a career. I was hearing, lots of examples, or one woman in particular who said, you know, there are no rules anymore. Things have changed so dramatically in the workplace that there are no rules. And I actually advised someone at one point to say, why don't you outline what you want? Why don't you go to whoever is above you and say, this is what I'm capable of doing. This is what I'd like to do. And this is where I think my role should be going. Something that maybe in years gone by, you'd be like, shit, that's a bit OTT, right? But nowadays, these rules, it's there for the taking.
absolutely. I do agree that we need to communicate what we want. First of all, we need to know what we want,
Mhm.
establish what we want. When we have that established, and then when we know who we know our values, that we have set of values, and these are cannot be negotiated.
Yep.
So then it's very easy, I would say in a loving way, not demanding or, this I
No.
am going to fight. Then it's very easy, or should be quite easy, to express what you want and how do you want to be treated.
Mhm.
And you then go to whoever is in charge and you say, listen, can I have a conversation? Here you are, having a conversation, not demanding something, but having a conversation and say, this is what I can do, this is what is done, and I can do better, for example.
Mhm.
Can I have your permission? Or I want to do this role. Promote me.
Mhm.
I think we just need to start a bit communicated clearly what we want and what can we do. You know how in our business we usually talk about, so for our clients to find us, we talk about results that they will get after working with us. From we will walk them from A to B, and B will be a result that they desire. So the same can be applied in work situation as well. You go to negotiate something, you know what you want, and you say to that person, look, we are now at position A.
Mhm.
Guess what? We can be at the position B. Company will contribute, our clients will contribute, everybody profits will go up,
Mhm.
and I can do it. And this is how. So, but again, for that, you need to know what you want, you need to know your values, and you need to work a bit on your mindset and ditch that, oh, they are not going to listen to me, I'm not important somehow. And this is your part where you work with women, that they need to change that narrative, or that scenario running in their head, and become this professional, full of expertise woman, because
Mhm.
we are professional women in any position, they are professional, and they need to express that. What do you
Mhm.
think?
I think that we've might have glossed over something that is critical and which is not easy. What do you want? What are your values? And I find it's not until your values are violated, because then you get this anger and frustration, but it's really, sometimes it can be really hard to pin it down. Like, why is this irritating me so much? And that's when you really discover what your true values are. But it's essential to figure out what you want. And that's not easy. I think that's not easy for a lot of people. And absolutely, figuring out your values are also can be really difficult to define.
Absolutely. It's, nothing is easy sometimes, but once you start doing step by step and
Mm-hmm.
practicing that one step, for example, so if we now talking about women in workplace. So if she starts expressing herself one sentence at a time, even if there is a meeting and she never spoke up in that meeting, never, so nobody even expects her to say anything, and then the meeting goes and she says, I need to say this, I need to say what I think. And then of course the first initial reaction of others will be, well, who is she? No, not who is she, but
A little bit.
and a little bit. But then she says what she wants to say, and she practices that for maybe a month.
Mhm.
And then and people start listening. But that needs to come from, with the power a bit of, yes, this is my contribution. I know I'm contributing to this table.
Mhm.
So the next step then maybe going into CEO's office and delivering some project,
Mhm.
whatever is the case. Practicing, I think practicing is very important. One thing is working with, I'm sure your clients, when they work with you, you give them not homework, but they need to practice
Yeah,
what you tell
exactly.
them to practice. And if
Yes.
they just go to the session, listen to you, and then say yeah, and they don't practice, this
No
is
change. There will
no
be
change
no
happens.
change. No, absolutely not. And I think this, what you're touching on here also absolutely can be done on an individual by an individual. But and I don't know if it was because I was involved in formal education for so long, because owning your own business means you have zero time. But this whole like personal development, massive industry. And you don't have to invest in it. I mean, it's great to invest in yourself, and you should for your own personal development. But that could be as simply reading a book, getting some guidance, getting some new perspective on how you can develop yourself, how you can develop things that are already within you. So your own strengths that you might not be aware of, or that you might minimize. It's very easy to minimize your strengths because they're so easy for you. Obviously, everybody has this, right? But if you look into any kind of self-development, it will teach you how to cultivate what already exists. And I think that this idea is a really critical point for women, but it takes time, and that's often such a scarce commodity, right?
Yeah, that's
For
the only thing we
everyone.
don't have.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's the only thing we don't have. But so what would you, we about to finish now. So Joyce, what would be your advice? One advice. If say we now let's talk about this woman, that beautiful woman, she's in a corporation, she's in workplace, and your advice to her. If she wants to change something, where does she need to start?
I think she needs to start by taking a little bit of time for herself and figuring out exactly what she wants. And I think learning about her values might be really helpful as well. So it would be so huge. There's so many different variations of what her needs are. But the very first thing is to carve out that little bit of time for yourself only, for some quiet reflection. And then maybe that will show you, right, this is what I'm going to do. Maybe the program will be crystal clear in your head. Maybe you're going to need some help. Maybe you need to access something online. Maybe you need to access some kind of formal, book kind of thing, or coaching. Absolutely. But just something that will move you along, because you have to make the decision that I want something better. I want to change. So if you want to change, you've got to make a change, right? You can't just obviously keep going down the same path, but it's hard. It's really hard. and it's time
It,
consuming.
no, absolutely. And
Lazy.
nobody will change anything for us unless we do. We need to do the work, whatever in whatever sense you see it, we need to work. I hate sometimes to see when people say, oh, I can activate that or another, I can clear your energy. Maybe they can, and they obviously can if they claim that. However, how long that will last? That saying, I can teach you to fish and you need to go and fish, because
Mhm.
there is no point for me to give you a fish. You will eat it, and what's then? So this is, I think, as well, it's very important to understand that nobody will come to you. For example, if you are in a work situation, and nobody will come to you and say, oh, do you want that promotion? Maybe they will, maybe they don't, but you could be waiting for a long time. So
Mhm.
you go about, if you want that promotion, you have to do something about it.
Mhm.
N- this is your responsibility. This is our responsibility. If we want something in life, if I want to have my business successful, I cannot sit here and wait for somebody to make my business successful. Doesn't work like that.
No.
We need to do the work. You call it the personal development. I agree. Personal development is very important. I sometimes call it inner work, which as well to clean that inner space, so our external environment results are clean and clear and aligned with what we want. We need to do the work. In any capacity that we understand, we need to do the work.
So true. And so difficult because I believe, especially because of iPhones, people want it now. They just want change. This want it. They're not really willing. A lot of people, which is why they just stay the norm and don't make changes and don't grow and say, oh, you know what, I would really like to. But that doesn't, you have to put in the effort. And I love the concept of inner work, but it's hard and it
It's
takes
never
time
easy.
and it takes effort. And absolutely, like, exactly like us, no one's coming in here to save me. No one's coming in to build your business or mine.
Well, and yeah, unless you on Baywatch movie or a show and you drowning in the sea, and then this beautiful lifeguard comes and rescues, then yes.
Okay.
But don't try that at home. Don't try that at home. That was a joke. I think the show is discontinued. That shows how young we are anyway. So, but yeah, so come back. So being serious like this now, we about to finish. Was another fabulous conversation, Joyce, about women and their role in the society and how they are sometimes misunderstood, and especially in workplace, how they are mistreated in a way. And we wish from the bottom of our heart that everybody would be in the right place, in the place that they belong, that they are enough, they valued. However, to do that, they need to sometimes do the work themselves. So people then, without any fight, without any, look at them and say, oh my God, how I didn't notice this beautiful employee of mine, for example, and her brilliant ideas that can change the landscape of our company and the industry even. So we wish everyone, woman in any corporation, in any situation, to finally stand on two feet, be strong, and live the life they're supposed to live, and express themselves in the way they meant to.
And it takes strength and it takes courage.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. When I
It's
say,
pretty
like
hard to
with business clients, we sit down and we talk about, so where are you right now?
find.
For the sake of, so we are aware where we are, and now where do you want to be, and what needs to happen for you
Mhm.
to go there. And then you create the sort of business plan. It's more action plan, how to get there. So my advice for women in business, in corporations, find out where you are right now, what is bothering you. If everything is fine, then you don't need to do anything. But
Mhm.
if you want to be somewhere else, in the same organization, but you want to have different environment, be surrounded by different people, so you need to do the work. You need to find out how can you get there. What do you need to do? Do you need to improve your communication skills? Do you need to know what you want? Do you need to go and talk to people? Do you need to create actual cheering committee around you?
Mhm.
If you need to do that, do it in
Mhm.
an ethical way. And yes, and I wish everybody success. Any last thoughts from you, Joyce?
No, I think you've covered it really well, actually. I like this.
So, anyway, if whenever you are going to watch this recording, or I know we had few live visitors, but because we are in the special studio, we cannot see the comments. So, if you want to reflect on something we talked about, you always can comment. And if you want to work with Joyce, you can connect with her on LinkedIn. If you want to work with me, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. But I will leave you with questions like this, so you can our visitors can reflect on. So reflect a bit on this. Have you ever felt overlooked? And
Mhm.
that's not for you to post it anywhere, but if you want, you can make a post, of course. But have you ever felt overlooked in your life? And that doesn't matter in any situation. What does being heard mean to you? How do you imagine being heard? What is this
Mhm.
to you? Then, and have you ever underestimated yourself? And I think this is where we will finish with. Stop underestimating yourself.
Mhm. Great questions. I love these questions, and I'd love to hear what people have to say about it because there
So I
are.
maybe I maybe will post these questions into the comment sections when I will go on the platforms. And if somebody wants to answer, we are looking forward to these answers because it will definitely give us more thoughts, and more food for thoughts, and it definitely will help others. How did you
Mhm.
overcome this? How did you become the version you are right now in this very moment if you had some challenges in the past?
Always appreciate another perspective. There's so much to learn from other people's
Absolutely.
perspectives.
Absolutely. And this was just a conversation with Lolita Reid and my partner in crime, Dr. Joyce Levitt. And together, yes, we invite you to have a conversation and we'll see you next time. And that will be on the 27th of August.
Yes.
Joyce, you will be where then? You won't be
Well,
joining me.
barring any wildfires, I hope to be walking the El Camino with a Canadian
Good for
friend of
you.
mine. So
Lovely.
we're going to be looking for, we have an idea for a co-host, but we have to speak to them first. And I will
Yes.
hopefully also send you some live footage or something to show you me sweating out the El Camino.
And yeah, and we will be sitting in a studio and be jealous. Anyway. So we cannot be with you. But thank you everyone and enjoy this. If you are watching this video, I hope you will find some good nuggets. We'll see you next time. Be you and Joyce, just say your tagline again because that's like gold. Say your
I,
tagline again.
I make the invisible visible.
So be visible.
Yes.
Bye everyone.
Bye-bye.